This video is made possible thanks to my supporters, especially Clown Keeper. Thank you so much, guys. So, last year, the Knuckles show was released direct to Paramount Plus, and was set to expand the world set up by the first and second Sonic the Hedgehog movies. And I didn't watch it. I just didn't feel like it. I just didn't. But I did see all of the controversy surrounding the series when it came out. I saw people say that the show had too little Knuckles, wasn't very funny, and even some people say it was outright awful and an insult to the franchise. And I 100% do not agree with that last point. Like, perhaps the show isn't the funniest thing on earth. I mean, I still managed to keep my composure the entire time whilst watching, but it certainly is not an insult to the Sonic franchise. In my opinion, if you find the Knuckles series to be an insult to the brand, then you find the Sonic movies to be an insult too, since this show is literally just more of the same, just with less Sonic and more Wade Whipple. Anyways, in today's video, I wanted to answer a couple questions. Firstly, did the Knuckles show deserve the hate it received? And secondly, should this show get a season 2? Whether that be going even more in depth on Knuckles' history, or even exploring his relationships with other characters a bit more. So, without further ado, let's take a look at Knuckles. So, the first episode of the Knuckles show starts by immediately establishing Knuckles by showing what he's about and giving a quick little recap of the second Sonic movie, with exposition from Sonic himself. A little fourth wall breaky, something I hate, but you know, it's whatever. This episode immediately starts with a lot of screen time from the animated cast, mixed well with the human characters, just as the movies do, and I think that the animation here is superb. It's on par with the movies actually, and it's impressive for TV CGI. I absolutely love the stuff with Wade in this episode. He's such a genuinely charming character, and I think it's pretty funny. Parallels part of what's happening with Knuckles at the same time too. His bowling rival's a pretty cool character, very much hoping that he makes his return later in the series, and it's mentioned that he's a bounty hunter, but I doubt that's very important. The talk that Knuckles has with the spirit of his chief is pretty nice. Having Knuckles look for someone to try and carry on the Echidna tribe's legacy is such a fantastic concept for an episode. Oh, well, a series? That's less kind of the point of this episode and more just kind of the point of the series in general, so I have no idea what I was doing when I was writing this. I love how Knuckles and Wade bounce off of one another. I think it's really funny how he only ever refers to him by his full name. Sorta odd how it turns into a buddy comedy road trip type thing, but again, I think the two of them work well as a duo. They're really funny together. Wade's talk about why he loves bowling made me really feel for him. It's sweet to learn that he had a father who taught him how to participate in fun activities like that, and the whole thing about him being abandoned was pretty sad. I felt that one. The guy who set up as the villain in this episode is shown to be pretty interesting too. We don't get much of him here, and I literally don't even know what his name is, but he's shown to have some of Robotnik's equipment and also Knuckles' quills. Definitely someone to be watched for sure. The gun agents that come after Knuckles not long after they arrive at the bowling alley leads to a really cool fight scene. Knuckles looks insanely badass during a lot of this. Sadly, the episode ends with Knuckles being kidnapped by said agents, which doesn't give me much hope for the rest of the series, because whilst Knuckles and the rest of the animated cast do have quite a lot of screen time here, if he's kidnapped, it could mean that what people were saying about it being a Knuckles show without Knuckles weren't lying. But I suppose we'll have to see in... Episode 2 picks up right where the last one left off, with Knuckles being kidnapped. That is to be expected of an entirely serialized show. The gun agents are doing an exchange for someone to obtain Knuckles, and oh god, it just occurred to me that this show's intro is really lengthy, and I'm gonna have to sit through this every single time. It's not bad, it's just really long. Anyways, we start with Knuckles and one of the gun agents waiting for their partner to arrive. Again, Knuckles gets quite a lot of screen time here, especially compared to the human characters, and speaking of, I absolutely love how Wade acts here. I'm gonna refrain from mentioning it too much in the future, but he's just so charming. I love him. I adore his little spy montage. It works so well in showing you how cool he thinks he really is. Wade's plan too is really charming, and it's funny how it doesn't end up working out for him. I think Wade was definitely the best pick for which human character to pair up with Knuckles for sure. The female agent here is incredibly intimidating and an interesting contrast to Knuckles and Wade. I love the little fight scene that happens between the male agent and Wade in this one too. I love how it ends as well. With him getting a call from his mother, it's great. I really like the gliding scene too. It's just that Knuckles is learning to have a little more trust in Wade and that they're becoming more comfortable with one another. I like the talk Knuckles has with Wade. It's an inverse of the talk from the first episode. Instead of Wade talking to Knuckles about his past, Knuckles is the one venting his struggles to him. The fact that they related on the topic of abandonment is really sweet, and it's nice to see that they consider each other friends. We also get word that a bounty has been placed on Wade's head due to him being a fugitive now. Wonder what will come of this, if anything. So this episode ends with Wade arriving at his mother's house, and I can't wait to see what they do in... Are those transitions getting old yet? Well, maybe they are. Whatever, let's move on. Episode 3 opens with Wade seeing his mother again and his sister Wanda, who is literally just a huge bitch. Her being on her phone at the dinner table was also really annoying, really upset me that she didn't want to partake in celebrating with them. Her tormenting Wade really didn't help. I understand that they have a sibling-type rivalry, but she's so awful to him. I feel awful for Wade, he hasn't done anything wrong. She thinks she's really cool and she acts so pretentious. She's just a huge asshole. The fact that she also f***ing stabbed him with a fork also made me really despise her. Knuckles' talk with Wade's mother is nice, and I really enjoyed the Jewish dinner they have together. Knuckles is really charming when enjoying his meal too. He's such a messy eater that it's such a comical contrast to the rest of them. Knuckles and Wade's mother bounce off of each other really well, and their interactions are so lovely. I wish we could see more of it, honestly. Wade's mother is such a sweet character. Wade introducing Knuckles to his music was really cool, and I think the further expansion upon what Wade said in the first episode about his dad was really sweet. We get another look at our enemies for a split second. Seeing that they're attempting to get the bounty placed on Wade's head from last episode, they end up breaking in and looking for Wade, with Knuckles finding out protecting Wade. There's yet another action scene here, them tearing up the house in the process. These guys are pretty unique. I like the one who fights Wanda, he looks really cool, and I like the moves he pulls off with his weapon. Knuckles beating up the other guys was also a pretty cool scene. I thought Knuckles looked really cool at that time. This entire confrontation actually makes him look really badass. This episode actually doesn't lead directly into the next one though, so I suppose I can't do another one of those cool transitions this time. It ends with a lovely reflection of the night from Wade's mother, and I think that ending shot was nice. Well, that's it for this episode. Now it's on to episode 4. Episode 4 starts off resuming where the night ended, with everything destroyed in an insanely cartoonish montage. That's quickly interrupted, however, when Wade is suddenly kidnapped by a mysterious biker. Wonder who that's gonna be? It's the guy from the bowling alley in episode 1. He makes his return, also attempting to capture Wade, and he succeeds. I suppose him being a bounty hunter was important after all, huh? He's a bit of an asshole, but I suppose that was already set up. And he was already kind of villainous in his initial appearance. This is, without a doubt, the episode to feature Knuckles the least so far, but that's hardly a complaint. I really enjoy a lot of the human stuff here, especially Wade training more and more to become a warrior. It's fun. He has a talk with Knuckles' tribe leader, which was really cool. And the low-budget rock opera, whilst it might seem stupid from the outside, I think is really charming, and the song here is pretty good. This part of the episode is actually pretty funny too. Watching Wade go through Emerald Hill on the bonus stages from Sonic 2 was a pretty cool reference. I actually really loved the part where he takes the kid's bike off of him and ends up having to buy it. That was actually pretty funny. This entire ending scene actually was quite funny, especially the part where Wade just returns with all Jack's stuff. Episode 4 ends with the Whipple family and Knuckles riding off into the sunset, heading off to Reno. And we'll find out more on what happens in... What a lovely opener, huh? Knuckles and Wade cruising to Reno. Really good looking scene here. Them checking out while they'll be bowling too is a really cool thing. That building looks insanely sick. The set here looks insane and it's incredibly impressive. The montage of Wade's dad was really cool, but I hate that they do the thing where they list off how cool the character is. That sort of really irks me, but it's over pretty much immediately, so it's not that too big of a bother. I love the little walkthrough that Knuckles gives Wade. It's really funny. The way his dialogue is so stilted, and the way that he confuses Knuckles' confusion for the guidance is just hilarious to me. The bowling contest was incredibly charming, and I absolutely adore the way that Wade interacts with his dad, both during and after the contest. The makeup they have as well is super lovely. The twist that he was secretly working with the good agents really got me. I was not all expecting that. Hey, maybe that's just me, but I was genuinely shocked by that. We get another look at the villain's lair here, seeing a bunch more old Robotnik tech from the first 2 movies. and that he's kidnapped the two gun agents who he was supposed to make a deal with all the way back in the first episode. We get context that he used to work for Eggman, and that there was an attempt to remove him from the workforce, now renamed to Gun, which is really interesting, and he's a fairly intimidating character. He ends up making a deal with a couple of gun agents, still requesting Knuckles in order to power a new machine. Episode 5 ends with Wade having to send Knuckles up into his father's penthouse in order to give him up to the gun agents. So, I suppose we'll have to see how this all ends in... This is it. The final episode of the series. The end of Knuckles and Wade's adventure together. And I am so ready to see how this all ends. The fight scene at the start of the episode is an awesome climax to episode 5. And I love how Knuckles just completely overpowers the two of them. It's really sick. Watching the two agents get sucked into the giant ring loop was also really satisfying. Finally puts an end to those two. The bowling stuff was obviously really fun. I absolutely love the dynamics between not only Wade and his dad, but the two reporters as well. They're awesome. Wade's bowling montage is brilliant. The way they fight for the top spot is just really charming like it was last time. Hold that thought though, as we finally get to see what our villain has been cooking up in the background. It's a big walker with tentacle-like arms, and it's here for Knuckles. That's short-lived though, as we're back to the rivalry between Wade and his dad. I love the speech that Wade gives before his ball. It's a really brilliant monologue, and it shows that he cared for not only his own family, but his friend Knuckles too. Portrays him as being really powerful, gives a fantastic reasoning for this whole series to exist. I really felt the energy and emotion that came from this final ball. It felt insanely rewarding, and the fact that he uses what Knuckles taught him in order not to be knocked down by his father's words is really sweet. Once all is said and done, Knuckles is launched in the wall of the alley, alerting the people to get to safety, as Wade chases after Knuckles, who is grabbed by the machine's arm. The villain begins to extract Knuckles' power, presumably killing him, but thankfully Wade steps in to taunt him, his family driving in to give him the electrical fists and some bowling balls. It's a really awesome fight scene, one without Knuckles for the most part, and it's awesome to see Wade, someone who'd previously been seen cowering in fear the entire show, properly stand up for himself and fight back against the villain. Still, don't know his name. The speech that he gives Knuckles is insanely lovely and complemented nicely by the brilliant score here. This is the second time, I'd say, where the show's score has stood out to me, the first one being from the musical scene. I love Knuckles' fight against the bad guy here. It's brilliantly animated and the backing music here is sublime. I love the amazing metal track they have playing of this whole thing. Guardians at Heaven's Gate was an absolutely brilliant choice to back this final fight. I love how they work together to finish the job. It's a brilliant team up, even if it's short-lived. The ending scene where Wade's mother punches Pete right in the face to stop him from stealing the trophy is really cathartic and feels so justified. I do find it funny how the ending of the entire show is one of those generic cartoon endings where they jump upwards and it freezes. The whole show has this incredibly cartoonish vibe, yet manages to take itself so seriously. I do genuinely love this show. Even if the last part of the series didn't feature Knuckles as much, I was still really engrossed. I think Wade and his family, alongside their dynamics with one another, are fantastic, and honestly, I can't ask for a much better show. Now, to answer the question from the start of the video, did the Knuckles show really deserve the hate? Haha, see, that's the title of the video, the video, see. Well, no, obviously not. I want to get one thing out of the way. This is not a good Sonic show, but is it a good TV show? Oh yeah, without a doubt, this show is incredible. I think that both Knuckles and Wade are incredible characters and are fantastic picks to bring the headlining characters. This show has literally tripled my love for both of these characters. They're amazing. I was absolutely missing out by not watching this show, and if what I've said today hasn't been too much of a spoiler, I totally recommend watching it for yourself. I saw a lot of complaints saying that children wouldn't be interested in this show, but I disagree. Not only is Knuckles in a large majority of the show, but I think the Wade stuff is more than good enough for kids to be entertained. If the show was purely about Wade or had a larger focus on him, I think it still would have been a good show, just nowhere near as good as it actually was. But I absolutely do not think that there was any noticeable lack of animated characters in this show. Completely stupid complaints. At no point in any episode did I have myself questioning, where's Knuckles? Because I was too engrossed in the Wade storyline and the stuff with Gun. Now, should this show get a second season? Yeah, for sure. I'd love to see that. Now, will it? No, probably not, but another season of the show where they focused on Team Chaotix or even introducing Rouge the Bat for a different dynamic with Knuckles would be fun. Or they could just continue what worked so well about the first season of the show and keep things going, just giving Wade something else to do or focusing on a different character entirely. Regardless, I'm actually really excited to see where this franchise goes next. With Sonic 3 being an absolutely massive success, I can't wait to see what they do in Sonic the Hedgehog 4. Oh yeah, Flames of Disaster or something like that.
The